What's up, everybody? We're standing in beautiful, sunny Kingston, Ontario. It's a gorgeous day. I'm with the official Rockstar Buy-in Kingston team. So Coach Steve Phillips and then Rockstar Coach Renee Mass. We're going to explore Kingston in this video and talk about why Kingston, why it's very attractive for investors, and why you should know about it if you're planning on investing in real estate. We're going to go in detail in this video and teach you all about Kingston, Ontario. Okay, Renee, I think we're standing in front of Old Town Hall right now here in Kingston.
This is Old City Hall. This
City Hall.
is where Kingston starts, right here, City Hall.
Yeah, so this is like the center point in the downtown core, and everything kind of emanates out from here.
Yeah, just look around. The train station used to be here, and right across, you got the waterfront, and you got all the boats as well. So it's one of the only places in Canada where you can actually dock your boat right downtown.
And what body of water is this?
It's Lake Ontario. It's the beginning of Lake Ontario, or the end of Lake Ontario, and the beginning of St. Lawrence River.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. All right, so why Kingston? I know, so you've been in Kingston a long time, 30 years, right?
Pretty much 30 years. I was a student at Queen's. I saw the beauty of Kingston, the potential of Kingston, and I figured I'm staying here because it's a lot better than in Toronto. Toronto has its nice things, but Kingston, I feel, had a lot more value. It's a smaller town, it's more affordable. You've got all the necessity that you need here. I mean, for example, there's a Costco here. There's a symphony in Kingston. There's a Ontario OHL team as well. Yeah. There's a lot that's here, and it's not a suburb of like Oshawa, a suburb of Toronto. Here, this is the main hub. You got Toronto about 3 hours to the west, and then Montreal 3 hours to the east, and then Ottawa. So it's like a hub in itself, and it's growing.
Yeah. So what's the population of Kingston right now?
Population is about 137,000. Greater Kingston would be about 175. And they're predicting by 2031 that it's going to be easily 250.
Okay. So this is a self-functioning city. It's the midway point between Toronto and Ottawa.
That's right.
And what's the real estate market like here? What's it been like? And what do you think it's going to continue to be like?
It's hot. Like, there's a lot of changes going on, but it's more affordable if you compare it to other places in Toronto. So people can get in and buy something that's substantial. And at the moment, what we've noticed in the past year or so, we've noticed that student rentals are the way to go. There's two big problems with investing in Ontario. And I understand why a lot of people want to go down to the south. Landlord-tenant board is the big problem in Ontario. With student rentals, there's less of that problem. I've been investing in student rentals for about 20 years. Ask me how many times I've been to the landlord-tenant board with a student.
How many times?
0 times.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're great tenants to have. The other issue with investing in Ontario is the high interest rate. And currently, because Kingston is locked in, Kingston, as you notice, there's a big lake, and we cannot build south. We cannot build north either. We're locked in. So there's really the basic economics of supply and demand is out of whack. Guess prices for students are paying per room.
So I can cheat here a little bit because I talked to Steve.
Yeah.
But anywhere from, I think, $950 to about $1,150.
Baseline is $1,100 per month plus utilities.
So that's like the average.
That's kind of the average. There's some lower. That's because they're not moving. The moment they move, and as we all know, as a student, you eventually move. You're not going to stay long term.
Yeah.
So that's even a better reason. So I've got some student rentals where, sure, they're paying $650 at the moment, but I know next year they're moving. So I never have the issue of having long-term tenants never leaving, which is another problem of investing in Ontario.
So these rents of $1,100, these are the types of premium rents we would see at an established school like Western University, right? And now Queen's University has just as much history, if not more, than Western. But at Western, there's like a 5-bedroom limit on these student homes. So with Queen's, do you guys have a bedroom limit on the houses?
Okay, so it depends on certain areas of Kingston, but at the moment, all across Kingston, the limit is 8 bedrooms per lot.
Wow.
And that is changing to 12 in the next month or so.
Yeah, so it's June now, so I think in July they're announcing these changes,
In July, they'll pass it through, council will pass it through from 8 units or 8 bedrooms per lot to 12.
Wow.
And also, more importantly, 3 units per lot to 4 units per lot.
Wow, 3 to 4. Okay, so right now you can buy a house, you can add a second suite, you can add a garden suite or an ADU, and now you're going to have the option to put a 4th unit on that property.
So yeah, but you got to understand, Sure, Kingston is comparing themselves to London, Western. But Western was built in the 60s in a field. Kingston's been around, or Queen's University has been around since 1841. And back then, sure, it was in a field, but now it's right downtown Kingston. And all students want to be right by the university, a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference.
So you guys, you and Steve, is your main focus on student rentals right now in Kingston? Or are you also exploring other different property types?
So, bottom line, we love Canada, we love Ontario. There's problems with investing in Ontario, and we know it. It's the landlord-tenant board and the high interest rate, nothing's cash flowing. Student rentals cash flow now. I started off with student rentals about 15, 20 years ago, and it worked out really well, helped a lot down the road. It's now cash flowing again. So we're back at it. And we're minimizing the risk of investing in Ontario with the landlord-tenant board, which we all know is a broken system. So student rentals, they don't go to the landlord-tenant board, and after 3 years, they're leaving. And you can bump up the rent as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a way of addressing both of those major issues.
There's something else about Kingston. Few people talk about. The vacancy rate is extremely low. It's been low for the past 10, 15 years. It hovers around 1%. In 2018, it was, I think the downtown core was 0.3. There was desperation on the streets. I had people calling me for just one bedroom, and they were giving the price that they wanted to pay just for 4 months. It was insane amount. These times are coming back as well. And there's always been a low vacancy. There's new buildings that are happening in Kingston, but it's not going to solve the issue because Queens, they're comparing themselves to Western Ontario. Western population of students, you got 40,000 students. And as we know, the more students, the more money that brings in. At Kingston, Queen's University has 28,000 students. And it keeps on increasing every year. So they're building for student rentals, large developers. But still, the vacancy rate is very low.
Yeah, so a lot of demand from students.
A lot of demand.
And what about families? What other types of people live here, work here?
Good question. So typically, Kingston's a government town. Like you've got prisons, you've got military, you've got 3 hospitals for such a small town. You've got municipal governments of all types. You got municipal, federal, and provincial. And you've got a thriving population of students as well. Okay. And retirees, they come to Kingston.
Yeah, and what's the quality of life like here?
Yes, quality of life is very good. In fact, I had some guests over on the weekend. They were living in Toronto, and they loved the idea that in 20 minutes, you're on the lake fishing. In 20 minutes from downtown. If we left from here, we'd be in the country, on a canoe, on a boat fishing, which you don't see too often in bigger cities. So you got both amenities. You've got all what you need in a big city, somewhat, and you've got the country life nearby.
Yeah, easy access to a lot of different parks and waterways. And
quality of life is somewhat better here because there's less commuting as well.
Yeah.
People like that. 20 minutes, you're really anywhere you want to be in Kingston. You're in the township or you're on the lake.
Yeah. Now, what about the city planning departments, projects going on? How development friendly are they? How landlord friendly are they here?
Well, let me tell you, the previous 3 or 4 mayors were landlords.
Okay.
So they're pretty friendly. What's happening now is the City of Kingston needs funding. Like any small city, they're a bit broke. They need some funds. And so they applied to a housing accelerator fund, which is a federal program with CMHC. And they were asking, the City of Kingston was asking for $65 million. They only received $27.6 million. Now people think, well, that seems substantial enough. Well, consider that Kingston's a small town, which is an old town as well, with the infrastructure being so old. So that $27.6 million is just there for the infrastructure. But the whole program is to help accelerate housing. So the federal government says, we'll give you this money, but it comes with a few criteria. And the big one is, like I said before, 4 units per lot. We have 3 units per lot, they want 4 units per lot, and they want 8 bedrooms per lot to 12. So I don't think there's much debating with the federal government. The City of Kingston, the councils are gonna have to pass this through in order to receive the money, because if they don't, this is what happened from another city, Oakville. They said, yes, we'll be aggressive with housing. They said this to the federal government. When it came down to councils to vote it through, they said no to the 4 units per lot. And the federal government said, we want that money back. So that's not going to happen in Kingston. They don't want that.
And not every municipality gets approved for this type of funding, for this housing accelerator fund.
Exactly.
So the federal government, they must see something in Kingston to allow for this growth, right?
True. So, for example, Windsor also applied for this program and they didn't get it. You have to be aggressive in housing. It's clearly stated in the program. If you're not, don't even apply. But it's a way of federal government to influence housing. I mean, municipal influences housing, provincial influences housing by the codes and the 4 units and all that. But federal, it's a lot of the interest rate and this program at the moment giving out free money.
Okay. Now we're going to shoot a bunch of videos today showing different projects, a duplex conversion, a student rental, a couple student rentals. But in terms of where to invest in Kingston, are there certain areas you recommend staying away from and other areas you recommend being in?
Yeah, we work with our clients. We tell them exactly where to go, where not to go. There's places that are more favorable than others where the appreciation will be increased and the cash flow will be there as well. It's one of those things where you need to be here for many years to understand street by street what is best and what may not be the most favorable. And a lot of people just don't know it, and they think that anywhere near the university, 30-minute walk is going to work, or bus route. You need to work with the right people to find that out.
Okay. Is there anything else about Kingston that people should know about?
Great place to live. Great ice cream, great bars, great restaurants as well.
You said most restaurants per capita in Canada, right?
So I'm told. Tons of restaurants here. So during the winter months, Queen's University brings in a lot of money to Kingston. But during the summer months, it's the tourism. We are a tourist town during the summer months.
So some arts, some culture.
Arts and culture, business, there's technology businesses as well here, government. It's a very stable economy.
Very stable, especially with the government workers, right?
Indirectly, we're a government town because Queens gets a lot of funding from federal government.
So it's an absolutely beautiful city with a lot going on. Why do more people not know about Kingston?
It's just you don't know what you don't know. Like, for example, I'm born and raised in Toronto, and I went to Queen's University. Once I discovered Kingston, I just saw the beauty of it. I didn't want to go back. But I find most investors, they start off in the west end of Ontario and then move towards the east. That tends to be the trend of most investors. And then they overlook Kingston. And so I'm letting you know that there's a lot of opportunities in Kingston, and look into something that has the right fundamentals, and the supply and demand at the moment works great here.
Yeah, it just seems like it's its own really unique pocket in between these two massive population centers of Ottawa and Toronto. And yeah, unless you've spent some time here, you just...
Did I tell you there's a symphony in Kingston?
You
There's
did,
tons
yes.
of shows. Wait a sec, did I tell you that Elton John came to Kingston not once but twice in the last 10, 15 years or so?
To perform.
So
Yeah.
if you find everything in Kingston, you don't necessarily need to go to a border town, to Toronto or to Montreal. You find everything in Kingston.
Okay, well, we're gonna explore Kingston more, so get ready for some Kingston videos. We're gonna show duplex conversions. We're gonna show Queen's University student rentals, fourplex additions. You're gonna see it all, so stay tuned for these videos. And if you wanna reach out to learn more about Kingston, you can reach out to Renee Mass, he's a Rockstar coach at Rockstar, and Steve Phillips. These are our dedicated Kingston Rockstar coaches. So if you have questions about these areas, you guys are the ones to speak to. How can people reach out to you guys?
Social media, just Google our names and we're there.
Yeah, so you guys both have Instagrams.
Instagram,
And then I think
Facebook.
you have a website set up as well, buyinkingston.com.
That's
right?
correct. Buying Kingston, it's right there.
And you can get their contact information. All right, until next time, your life, your terms.